Hi, everybody. Hi, this is Dr. Ken Muich, Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, Stetson Chiropractic Clinic. First of all, I want to wish each and every one of you a very, very happy and healthy and holy Thanksgiving holiday season. Regardless of what your health might be or state of mind, I want to wish each and every one of you the best of times during this holiday season. And let's see if we can make it the best of times, regardless of all of those things that might be facing us, that's for sure. This is all about fibromyalgia today and how it affects individuals. And we're going to be covering a number of subjects and a lot of them that we've talked about over the last month, believe it or not, that directly relate to what we're going to be talking about. So if you've actually looked at some of these live videos, you can go back if you've been taking some notes, or you can recheck them and find out exactly what we had spoken about. There's a lot of things that go through fibromyalgia patients' minds, possibly good, possibly mainly bad, frustrating, so forth and so on. So we're going to cover a lot of those today and see if we can actually help you think in a much better fashion, shall we say. I'm going to have to read a few things to you because there's certain things that I want to get across to you. First thing is, and I sent these things out to you as far as through my text and so forth, and there were questions for you as far as what to eat and what is the definition of fibromyalgia and so forth and so on. So I want to go over with you just a couple of definitions of fibromyalgia. You may or may not actually know what fibromyalgia is, even though you have it or you know somebody that has it. So I'm going to give you a couple of different definitions. This is from the Fibromyalgia Coalition International in Mission, Kansas. Fibromyalgia syndrome is a chronic disorder primarily involving widespread muscle pain, often described as burning, shooting, stabbing, tender points, stiffness, fatigue, sleep disorders. Pain and stiffness are often worse in the morning, can vary from mild to debilitating. It's estimated that more than 12 million people are partially or totally disabled by fibromyalgia in itself. This is from Social Security Disability Insurance, of which maybe many of you have been fighting for years, trying to get Social Security or disability benefits. And so it goes like this. Fibromyalgia is a complex medical condition characterized primarily by widespread pain in the joints, muscles, tendons, or nearby soft tissue that has persisted for at least 3 months. Fibromyalgia is a common syndrome. If you've ever tried to get Medicare, Social Security, disability payments, so forth and so on, you know how difficult oftentimes it is, primarily because the judges that make the decisions really don't know what fibromyalgia is. They just look at this and then scratch their heads. This is from Dr. R. Paul St. Amand, of which, and myself, of which we follow the fibromyalgia treatment protocol that I've introduced to you numerous times. Fibromyalgia is a cyclic illness that affects millions of people, primarily women, regardless of race. Its symptom clusters lasts for just a few days initially. Recurrent attacks affect ever more body parts and systems until the patient unrelenting cycle from bad to worse. They are referred to various specialists who often restrict their investigation within their field of expertise. You go to an internist, they work an intern, an osteopath, so forth and so on. They may fail to grasp the extent of the involvement because they don't look at the total picture. These limited searches perpetuate the current tendency to create separate entities, such as entities being diagnoses, such as chronic fatigue, systemic candidiasis, myofascial pain, irritable bowel, vulvodynia, interstitial cystitis, so forth and so on. There's, as I've covered this numerous times, there are at least 13 major other diagnoses that mimic fibromyalgia, or maybe fibromyalgia mimics them. That's why it's so difficult to diagnose. Such nomenclature obscures making an all-inclusive diagnosis and promotes symptom-driven, only partially effective mind-altering treatments that fail to change the course of the illness. And that's what we try to do, is correct these things so people know exactly what they have and help doctors understand what they have. So we're going to be talking about a number of different things that actually affect fibromyalgia patients. Let's take a look at the first one, which is stress. Stress could be from a variety of different things. It could be physical, emotional, chemical. It's a triad of health in itself, and it's very, very frustrating for most patients because of things that are going on. The COVID-19 nutrition, the holidays coming up, maybe loss of job, a variety of different things. So stress is one of those things that's very, very difficult to deal with. And it's understandable, except for those people that don't have fibromyalgia. They look at you and wonder, well, so what's wrong with you? I don't understand. You look just fine. You look a little tired. You get enough sleep, so forth and so on. You have to understand that fibromyalgia is involved with so many different aspects. Again, like the physical, emotional, chemical. You want to make sure that during this period of time that you get as much rest as you possibly can. Try to think positive mental attitude as much as you can. If you're taking medications that you know are helping alleviate and relieve some of your symptoms, make sure you do that. Try to stay as active as you possibly can in itself. Weather now, you got the 4 seasons. For many of us in Arizona, you only have 2, hot and moderate. We've been in the upper 80s now. It's fighting to get lower, shall we say. But most other areas have 4 seasons. You have winter, spring, summer, fall. And when you have changes like that, and I've covered before in many of my talks, expect to have variations as far as your health is concerned until your body acclimates itself to that new weather in itself. And so keep that in understanding because for many of you, we're going into the winter months, where it's a lot colder. And again, it usually takes 2 to 3 weeks for your body to get acclimated to this new weather, whether it be cold, or it could be damp, could be windy, a variety of different things, rainy season, so forth and so on. Another one, concerns. Everybody has concerns. And of course, the mental health aspect is very, very important as far as for fibromyalgia patients, as is for many people now because of the COVID-19 and the quarantines. You want to do is try to think again in less aggressive terms. I mentioned this before when we talked. This is, by the way, number 136. If you go back to 130, 131, 133, 134, 35, all of those actually involved in many of these things, bits and pieces of these areas that we're talking about now. But you don't want to you want to watch your vocabulary. I mentioned this some weeks ago. Instead of using hate, try to use the word dislike. Instead of terrible, try to think uncomfortable. Many of those things in itself mentally would actually help you relax yourself rather than being so much aggression. Well, I'll tell you, just with the political season that we're still in the midst of, shall we say, the aggression some people have been using has been really very, very difficult in itself. Ankylosing spondylitis. Ankylosing spondylitis is an osteoarthritic condition, and I noticed there's, hello, let's say, Flora Elizabeth. Hi, Flora Elizabeth. So nice meeting you and talking to you. It's not part of fibromyalgia. However, it is a secondary condition that either fibromyalgia makes worse or that's ankylosing spondylitis will make fibromyalgia worse. Because what happens, ankylosing means that there's something that is attaching your vertebrae together that actually makes it stiff and rigid. I was just talking to a neighbor of mine that has ankylosing spondylitis, and they're having more and more studies being done that you may be interested in participating in. The only thing I can say is that unless you have it, I've tried to get involved with more of that in itself, but I have not heard back from them because I don't have ankylosing spondylitis. But again, you may be having some people, you may be having some messages that are coming across on the internet that are asking for people that would like to have some studies done on people that have ankylosing spondylitis. Might want to look into that. What is it? Sometimes it's calcific deposits that actually run up and down the spine, okay? And it makes your spine rigid. Now, the good thing about ankylosing spondylitis, if there is any at all, is that the discs are not damaged. Unless you have this show up before you have some degeneration from some maybe born with it or possibly having an injury. But most ankylosing spondylitis actually saves the discs from actually being damaged or destroyed. The bad part about this is you become more and more stiff and rigid. Your spine becomes stiff and rigid. So what they suggest is that you try to do as much activity as you can below pain. That means stretching best you can. Okay, sitting in a chair just waiting for something to happen isn't going to help you. Right now, as far as I know, there are no medications that will reverse ankylosing spondylitis, but it is not part of fibromyalgia in itself. Okay, pain. And again, ankylosing spondylitis, because of lack of motion and so forth, your muscles and tendons, so forth, are not being stretched, and so they shorten. But with fibromyalgia patients have pain in the muscles and tendons, even though there's not a lot of nerve involvement in the ligaments. Still, the ligaments do have a little bit of irritation, aggravation itself. So why do fibromyalgia patients have sometimes mild pain, and other ones are so bad they can hardly get out of bed? Well, it has to do with your ability to feel pain also, rather than using big medical terms. Some of us can get hurt pretty bad, and you don't have that bad feeling in itself, whereas others might have just a pinprick or maybe a little strain, and the level of pain is much greater. And so it varies from one person to another. That doesn't question whether or not you have pain, because fibromyalgia is dependent upon what you say, your symptoms, not some objective tests. I've mentioned to you before, objective tests really don't give a lot of answers for fibromyalgia. It's all dependent upon how you feel. Most important thing, when you have pain, it's not going to get any better by trying to be overactive. Okay, you want to try to get in comfortable positions. Try heat. Try ice. Try a combination. If you're going to do a combination, do about 3 to 5 minutes of cold, then heat, then cold. What that does is it actually takes and evacuates just like an accordion. It squeezes together, back and forth, back and forth. You want to begin and end with cold, not ice, cool packs, not directly on your skin, inside of a cloth. Okay? You might want to try that. You might want to just take a nap if you can. If there's certain medications, again, that you know is helping you, make sure you do that. Excuse my voice. I don't have any water to drink. Otherwise, it would probably clear up and be a lot better. And the other thing is, keep in mind that much of your pain might be also from your secondary condition. Here's a good example. If you have ankylosing spondylitis and fibromyalgia, much of that pain might be from ankylosing spondylitis, or it could be from osteoarthritis, or rheumatoid arthritis, or lupus, or a variety of different things. So don't put all the blame on fibromyalgia. It could be your secondary condition that is actually causing it. And the thing about it is that every fibromyalgia patient in all my work, working from 1990 to the present with fibromyalgia patients, every fibromyalgia patient has at least one secondary condition, if not more. Floor says, my husband and I have fibromyalgia and RA, but he is also diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis. Okay, that's a perfect example. So here's an individual whose husband has fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, and ankylosing spondylitis. All of those things are magnifying, most likely, the pain that you have. Fibro makes it worse, and these make fibromyalgia worse in itself. And so I'm so sorry to see that some people have, but that's a good example of multiple conditions that are actually probably causing the fibromyalgia worse in itself. Insurance. You're getting more and more information on check your insurance, Medicare, so forth and so on, especially if you're Medicare age. You want to make sure it covers fibromyalgia. Not all insurance companies are still up to date with fibromyalgia. It has a code. It has an insurance code. Okay, ICD-10 code, so you should be covered, but insurance companies sometimes will question that, okay? So make sure you get it diagnosed properly. Make sure it's covered. As far as Medicare is concerned, most of us aren't traveling very much right now. But for those that do travel, you want to make sure that your insurance, Medicare, goes with you in another state, shall we say, or another location. Some of the Medicare policies do not cover you out of state or out of your locale, especially if you only have to go to certain doctors. So that means more money out of your pocket if you have to go and get some medical aid if you're out of state or out of your locale for insurance. Ask those questions. If I go to Ohio, am I covered under my insurance? If I go to Mexico, if I go so forth and so on. Some of you are going to travel anyway. We know that. Okay? Make sure that everything is covered properly from your insurance. Now is the time to do it before, I believe, December 7th. Eating. I just covered that. Matter of fact, eating. Look, you want to you want to stay away from things that cause any inflammatory increase, such as sugar, gluten, trans fatty acids, dairy. Those are known to be inflammatory. For everyone? No. But until you test each and every one of them, you won't know. So minimize what you're doing as far as sugar. It's going to be tough during the holidays, especially because most of us are into junk foods, even a little bit, the potato chips and the cookies and everything else. You want to minimize sugar by taking and using stevia. It's a natural thing rather than regular sugar. Gluten, that's wheat, rye, barley, malt. You want to have bread, try to do sourdough, something like this, okay? Or gluten-free if at all. Trans fatty acids. Trans fatty acids are omega-6s. Those are the things that they put in products that stay on shelves for a long period of time, okay? So you want to minimize trans fatty acids. And dairy, I know, milk, cream, butter, cheese, all those things. Oh my goodness, how are you going to do that over the holidays? As I mentioned, you want to look at your carbohydrates and minimize your high-level glycemic carbohydrates. Okay, those are the ones that have high sugar level in them, especially if you're pre-diabetic, diabetic, or anything like this. All right, you want to eat a lot more vegetables and fruits. I know they have sugar in fruits. Most of these have fruits, but it's fructose. Fructose gives you an even level. Okay, whereas sucrose goes whoop on down, up and down like a yo-yo. Not good for your health. Okay, if you want to get something, look in the glycemic index, GLYCEMIC, glycemic index. Okay, it takes all the foods and it ranges them from 0 sugar to 100%. You want to stay 50 or lower, and so it'll show you the different foods as far as the levels are concerned. Jobs. A lot of you have lost your jobs. A lot of you can't get work. Some of you that are fortunate maybe are working from home. Most important thing, see if you can work if you have a job from home, since most of us are doing that, except for myself. When I go into clinic, I have to see patients. But bottom line is that the loss of your job obviously is extremely stressful. It involves a lot of things, not only the physical, emotional, of course, monetary wise, so forth and so on. Make sure that whatever you can do to help yourself, but try not to get stressed out any further. That's not going to help you overall, especially if you have fibromyalgia. It's I don't have an answer as far as being able to get work or jobs, but at this time, maybe try to take care of yourself and see if you could do things in a less stressful way in itself. This is a time that you can take care of, do some things at home that you were not able to do. I was talking to a patient that had COVID-19, but he had a low level. So what did he do? Well, he was a plumber, but he couldn't go out and work. So what he ended up doing is building himself a smoker for his food, because he had all the tools and all the metals and everything else. So maybe you could do something. Maybe write a book. Maybe do things like that. Look at the pictures from your family. They got family albums. Write stories. Contact your friends. Talk to them. Stay busy. Don't just sit at home and do nothing. There's a lot of things that you can do. Accidents. Injuries. You know, I'm getting more and more involved with accidents and injuries and post-concussion syndromes in itself. A lot of people might fall, hit their head. They don't even realize some of the symptoms that they actually have. I'm running a little bit late, but I want to run this through. It's very, very important. If you've had a recent injury, automobile accident, slip, fall, whatever else, these are post-concussion syndromes, okay, traumatic brain injury. Traumatic, it can just get to the point where you shook your brain a little bit, okay? So listen to these. There's physical, cognitive, emotional, and sleep symptoms. Since any of your accidents, have you had headaches? How about nauseousness or vomiting? Balance issues, dizziness, visual disturbances, fatigue? Are you extra sensitive to light and noises now? Are you mentally foggy? A lot of these things are fibromyalgia. Well, are they worse since any injury accident you had? Difficult concentrating, remembering, confusion, answering questions slowly, irritability, sadness, nervousness, drowsiness. How's it affecting your sleep? Are you having sleep problems in itself now? Insomnia since your accident? Any of these are worse since an accident, since a lot of those are fibromyalgia, it seems like, right? You know, that the fogginess and fibro fog and so forth and so on. Travel. I doubt if many of you are going to be doing some travel, but if you have to, make sure you wear a mask, make sure you take care of yourself, maybe even wear plastic gloves, so forth and so on. The airlines are doing it as much as they possibly can, but still, the bottom line is that make sure you stay safe. If you have people coming in from out of town, make sure you check their history. Who have they been hanging around with? What's their temperature? So forth and so on. I hate to scare you, but this is the thing that's going on now. Finally, medications. We've covered this before. If you're taking a pharmaceutical, every pharmaceutical, and this is accepted by companies, the companies admit this, every pharmaceutical has side effects. You know, I had patients come in and they're taking, you know, the Lyricas and Cymbaltas and Savellas and all the other things and so forth and so on. Check the side effects. A lot of them add muscle aches and pains, or headaches, or stiffness, and so forth and so on. Those are the things that fibromyalgia patients already have, right? So you want to make sure that you don't overdo it. You know, make sure that you don't take something that is actually making your symptoms worse. If they are, go to your doctor and say, look, I'm already having headaches, and these are making my headaches worse. Do you have something in your bag of tricks that you can suggest to me that is not headache involved? There's more than one medication out there, okay? There's thousands of them, I swear, okay? And some of them have a lot less symptoms or secondary side effects than others. Make sure you check on that. It's just the benefits that you have that can be better for you so that you can control your situation. These are a lot of the questions that people have come up with that I've talked to that have fibromyalgia that are concerns for them. I do hope that I've given you some insight in some things that'll help you. If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me, okay? My email is dcken2000, that's 2000 at C as in cat, S as in Sam.com. D as in dog, C as in cat, the number 2000, D as in dog, C as in cat, Ken, K-E-N, the number 2000 at cs.com. I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to wish each and every one of you a happy and healthy and holy and supportive Thanksgiving. You're not alone. There's a lot of us out there that are trying to help and work with you, believe me. For Flora Elizabeth, I want to thank you very much for joining us, asking questions. Each and every one, you can ask questions as we go along. Maybe it'll fit in perfectly. Special blessings to Flora Elizabeth and her husband, and think the best possible ways and things for you. Thank you so very, very much. Look forward to seeing you next week, which will be Monday, 12:45 p.m. AZ time, Arizona time, the Fibromyalgia Wellness Center. Thank you very, very much. Tell your families, friends, doctors, so forth and so on to join. We'll have another exciting subject to talk about, fibromyalgia and other health-related subjects. Best wishes to each and every one of you. Thank you so very, very much. Bye-bye now.